She's raising taxes for more public spending. She says she's going to borrow more for public investment. And she's got one eye on the Commons and the public, but also the financial markets. And as the FT says, UK borrowing costs, the interest rates that the markets are demanding have gone up.
Yeah.
If you get this judgment wrong, as we saw with the Liz Truss budget a couple of years ago, they do their budget, the markets don't like it, financial market interest rates go up. Suddenly people are finding their mortgage rates are going up. She has to have an eye on what investors around the world are thinking when she delivers her budget.
And the issue with borrowing more is it's already pushing interest rates. I mean, if it pushes them up even more and mortgage rates go up, she will be blamed for that in the way the Truss government was never forgiven for the fact mortgage rates went up because of the city's reaction to the mini-budget.
But that's why she's getting so much of it out now, including changing the rules on investment and borrowing, so there are no surprises to the city. She's basically softening them up because they're essentially global, international financial capitalists who will always want to, in the casino, try and win as much as they can and charge as much as they can. And she's playing a game with them, isn't she? I mean, she's gambling. She is gambling, there's no doubt. They gamble, and it's who wins.
But it's OK to borrow to invest if people think that's going to be good long-term for the economy. In the case of the Liz Truss budget, when it was seen as being short-term and a bit reckless, you get like a big thumbs down and everybody sees their mortgage rates going up. So she has to persuade people it's a long-term plan.
And part of the Truss problem was that she cut the top rate of tax. And there was no clamour for that, and people thought...
Oh, for the wealthiest
people, and it was politically inept.
If you're a big Thatcherite. Margaret Thatcher's your heroine, your hero.
Quite right.
And if you think back, she used to always use a very simplistic argument. It's like a household budget. I mean, the British economy is much more complex than that. But if you do it as a household budget, you think, look, most of us will borrow to invest and buy a house. Or you get a car. But what you don't want is to be borrowing to buy your shopping and pay your electricity bill, so your running costs. So it makes sense.
Or get a mortgage, which is too big, and you can't afford to pay it back over the next 20 years.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? You mentioned the trust problem, but I think the problem is a trust problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, if there is going to be pain in this budget, people have to trust that they are going to feel it, not just a wider general sense of the economy doing better, but their actual lives, whether in income, whether in the things they're buying, whether it be mortgages, are going to get better.
Or the National Health Service.
Well,
or the National Health Service, absolutely, because getting access to that is something that makes people feel safe and good about life in Britain. How quickly, though?
Well, that's the point. How quickly can they turn this round? And Streeting, the Secretary of State for Health, has already said there could be a winter fuel... There could be a winter crisis in the NHS, people on trolleys in corridors. So it's... And the public will judge a Labour government more harshly, I think, because the NHS is so important to them.
Does that mean they should put more money in now to feel the benefit quicker, or is it not that simple?
You don't get a quick result from the money. Because if you're going to buy... Just say you're going to get more nurses, doctors...
Well, that takes ages.
You can't just get them, right, here's the money Wednesday, we'll have them Thursday, or scanners, or build hospitals, or get ambulances, what it is. But you've got to have a plan to show how the pain's going to produce a gain. Because all pain, no gain is no good at all.
And that is why it normally happens at the beginning of a government.
Yes.
Gordon Brown in 97, Margaret Thatcher in 79, George Osborne in 2010. The difference is here that in the election campaign, lots of the experts, we were debating this regularly, saying surely they're going to have to raise taxes, and both main parties gave the impression there wasn't a need for a tax rise. So the government now has to say, a few months on, it turns out it was worse than we thought. We have to have a tax rise. Are they going to win that argument, or will people say, we were misled?
Well, I don't think they are winning the argument, because they keep going on because they can't define about taxes on working people. What is a working person? It's been horrific to see them trying to explain what is a working person. One cabinet ministers after cabinet contradicting each other. Working people are going to get hit hard by this budget, and we were told again and again they would not be. In the manifesto,
I think there's a question of how hard you say they will get hit. Right, if the freeze on fuel duty and petrol, which has fallen, the proportion that goes in tax has fallen considerably over the last 14 years, if that goes up 5, 6, 7p, then you will see an impact on working people.
Yeah.
But they're not changing the income tax rates, the VAT rates, or the national insurance rate.
The cap on bus fares, that hits working people.
Yes, but that was going to end at the end of this year, because the Conservatives only funded it for a period.
The Tories brought in the
cap
on bus fares in the cost of living crisis. A Labour government is removing.
But they have inherited something from the Conservatives that was going to
kept it. They could have kept it.
Winter fuel.
Well, then they've got to pay
fuel is the big
it's
mistake, I think. Winter fuel is the big mistake that's changed the short-term argument. But longer term, you can see Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, both saying that things. You're going to have more money in your pocket, going to revive the NHS, going to get Britain
more money.
Do you think she should raise fuel duty? Do you think she will raise fuel duty?
Yes, I do.
It's about...
Do you think she should?
I don't think she should, because it's going to hit working people.
Should she, will she?
She shouldn't, and she will.
I think she should, and she will.
I think
Why do you think she
usually won't. She'll keep the 5p.
I think she won't.
She'll extend the 5p cut.
It's a real mess for the Chancellor, because you have this thing where the numbers all assume every year fuel duty is going to go up. It's all in there, and therefore it costs you not to do it. But for 14 years, every Chancellor has said, actually, I'm not going to. Is Rachel Reeves, in this budget, going to say, I'm going to increase taxes on working people for their petrol and diesel? I think she won't.
Two things, isn't it? About 4.8 billion. I mean, that's sort of 3 winter fuel allowances if you wanted to bring back your winter fuel allowance. And secondly, all the motoring organisations say the oil companies haven't passed it on. Yeah. So it's actually
Jeremy
not you, the driver, it's the big oil company that's got that benefit.
We've got a debate about that at 7:45, actually, whether it's time to end the freeze or not, because Jeremy Clarkson, as you might imagine, thinks it's very unfair on motorists to do that.
The big question is, if in 5-10 years' time, when we move to electric cars, there's no petrol and there's no diesel cars, that's a massive loss of revenue. The big debate we ought to be having is
road pricing.
What's she going to do instead when all the money goes from fuel duty?
Look, we'll know a lot more detail, won't we, this time? Are you two here tomorrow?
No.
No, you'll have people who know less.
You'll just be shouting at the screen at home.
No.
But we'll know more detail tomorrow. One of the things that's come out today is this £3 billion, as it's been stated, increase, a £3 billion boost for the armed forces. Do you think that figure is right? I think Ed wonders if it's a bit big.
Well, a lot of that is to give them a pay rise of around 6%.
I think most of it is actually going to be money as a one-off for Ukraine. And therefore, it's not something which will be in the underlying budget for years to come.
So
it won't count for 2.5%.
When you say for Ukraine, it's actually so it's for armed forces here, isn't it? To replace some of the weaponry and support that's been given to Ukraine to sort of bolster our arsenal, if you like. And the other is the backdated pay rise.
But it's a one-off.
6%. So it's a one-off, and that's backdated
and recruitment in the army has been very difficult. And a proper pay rise might help that.
Yeah, but because it's actually not particularly well paid when you go into the armed forces. I'm not surprised they've got recruitment
for risking your life.
And also you're away from your family. You know, it can be tough.
But it will still only keep spending at the same sort of level at 2.3% of
the Conservatives said in their manifesto they would get defence spending to 2.5%. Labour said they would like to at some point. It looks like that this budget is not going to get to 2.5%. Does this create an opportunity for the next leader of the Conservative Party, or, you know, is this a bit esoteric?
No, I think it's an important issue, and particularly we're living in a very uncertain world. The world is much scarier. What's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in the Middle East. I think people want strong defences. And the Tories, shamefully, run defence down terribly.
We're one of the world's great defence spenders. We spend enough. We've got to spend it better. The Ministry of Defence...
The procurement is a joke.
Is so wasteful on the equipment that comes late, over budget. Get a grip of that.
Well, can I give you some stats, which might help your argument, Kevin? It's not often I do, but this might. So more Ministry of... There are more MOD pen pushers than sailors or pilots. So civil servants are up to 63,702. The Navy and the RAF are down to 57,260. Obviously, if you have the Army in, it's significantly more. But those sort of figures do make people think,
They're
don't
partial
they?
figures. When there's 80,000 in the army or so, I think it's just under 80,000. But, yeah.
72,000, yeah.
Yeah, do you need that many people? Well, look, the Royal Navy's got more admirals than it's got ships and so on. It's, I'm sure it could be spent better. We see Public Accounts Committee reports, which is body in Parliament looking at spending. It's so wasteful, the MOD. It is incredibly wasteful. That's why I don't think give it more money.
No.
I'd make it spend better.
But would you spend... Well, OK, so what would you spend it on with him there?
Oh, no, I can see now the case for the 3 million for the 6%... Sorry, 3 billion for the 6% pay rise and replenish stocks and replace missiles and so on. I've gone to Ukraine.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't just keep saying increase spending, increase spending. Get a grip on the procurement, the purchasing of the equipment and the weapons, and you'll get a much bigger bang for your buck rather than just pouring more money into it.
It's probably a bit late for her because the Chancellor, first woman Chancellor to deliver a budget ever, first time that's happening in Parliament. Her speech will be written. But if you were giving her advice, would you do that speech in a stern, serious, it's going to be really tough, quite downbeat way, or would you want to be more optimistic about, you know, it's getting better, this is what I'm doing, and maybe even has some kind of surprise at the end which cheers people up? Which strategy would you go for?
It's been so much doom and gloom from the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. I'm sorry, she's robotic, and it's just doom and gloom. And I think she's going to become a very unpopular Chancellor very quickly. And I think there needs to be some optimism injected into the narrative from this government, because it feels like they're just talking the country down.
What did she pull out as the treat?
But
maybe it's the fuel duty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that.
Something on winter fuel allowance.
Not doing something.
She's not going to change winter fuel allowance.
I tell you, that would be the rabbit out of the hat. I've listened. We realise huge, concern. We found some money down the back of the sofa, even in these very tough times. We didn't want to have to do it.
Well, they didn't need to do it.
And now we don't.
They didn't need to do it.
If you're doing the sums though, you've got to find the 1.4 billion. There's no question. It's just if you kept bus fares capped at £2, you'd have needed the £500 million. You've got to do your sums somehow. Yeah. But
So what would you do?
Me?
No, in terms of tone, how would
I would change it as you go through. Very, very stern when you talk about the economic legacy, which was poor. Public finances were in a bad way. Making tough choices, putting up some taxes, didn't really want to, but you got to. And then upbeat at the end, this is my vision. This is where the promised land is. We can get there. It's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but we will get there. And you stake everything on delivering. And you have to deliver more money in people's pockets, better NHS, public services, revive the country working. There's so much that doesn't work. You've got to make it work. You've got to deliver.
Just before we leave Rachel Reeves, because I'm sure there'll be lots of talk of this tomorrow as well, apparently she's done a bit of picture swapping. Nigel Lawson, former Chancellor.
Great tax-cutting Chancellor, I might add.
Great tax-cutting Chancellor's pictures come down, and one of the founders of the Communist Party has gone up in its place.
She's not gone on...
Interesting optic.
Yeah, but it's Ellen Wilkinson. She's not gone on as a founding member of the...
She was a founding member of the Communist Party.
She was on the Jarrow March. She's gone on because she was the second female cabinet minister in history. She was the education minister in
and she was a communist. And she was a founding member of the Communist Party of Britain.
Some decades before.
So leopards don't change their spots, head.
Oh God, come on! She's a hero.
Why didn't she have
She's
a much
hero
more
in Jarrow and Middlesbrough?
Modern Labour woman politician like Barbara Castle, who was in Wilson's cabinet, Callaghan's cabinet, but of course she was a vocal champion of pensioners. What would she be thinking about abolishing the winter fuel allowance?
Ellen Wilkinson
couldn't do it. And she would have much more relevance, but she couldn't.
Ellen Wilkinson has a comprehensive school named after her in West London. There's a statue of her in Middlesbrough. She's on plaques in Jarrow because of the march. There is nothing to do with the Communist Party that she's up there.
She was a communist. Another bad optic.
It's given Andrew something
to
smile about.
Yeah, something nonsense.
Bad optic.
What a nonsense. You know, she had an affair with Herbert Morrison, who was the grandfather of Ellen, who was grandfather of Peter Mandelson. Yeah.
And then it ended badly.
Well, she died, didn't she, in 47? There was all did she take her own life, or did she... Because she had a load of barbiturates in her body when she died. But she had terrible illnesses. She had emphysema. Sorry, I'm going a bit too far.
No, but anyway. I always enjoy your history lessons.
It's a great
fascinating.
Look, I mean, it's the second time that we've discussed 1947. I mean, yesterday Hugh Dalton, today Ellen Wilson.
Oh, yes.
Watch this programme for a discussion. 45 to 51.
Down your way.
Helps your history GCSE, kids, if you're on half-term studying. Robert Jenrick is on the programme later. He has said that everybody in the Cabinet, the whole Tory Cabinet, to quote him precisely, knew the Rwanda scheme wouldn't work. Shame they didn't tell all of us that before the money was spent on it.
Well, it's a shame we never tried it.
Well, they knew it wouldn't work.
Well,
that's what it's
news to me from Jenrick, but of course this is Jenrick because Jenrick's case is we've got to come out of the European Court of Human Rights. So he's saying the Rwanda thing was a gimmick. This is all to support his case.
What he was trying to say is that the way the law was written, it couldn't be achieved.
Because
it was pursued and money was spent on it.
Well, I mean, and nothing in it has taken it. Nothing that's flowed since this lot got in has changed because the number of people crossing the channel is increasing. It was an attempt at a deterrent. It was an attempt at a deterrent. Maybe he's right, all the cabinet disagreed. They never said that.
Let's remember, it wasn't the European Convention of Human Rights that ruled it unlawful. It was the UK Supreme Court. It was the UK Supreme Court. But because the Home Secretary, James Cleverly, thought it was bat poo. Rishi Sunak, when he was Chancellor, had opposed it, and he just went along with it when he was Prime Minister, because it was like just it was a snake oil solution. Just shout, Rwanda, it'll always sort it. It never was going to.
I mean, the National Audit
we're now seeing they're admitting it.
370 million.
100 million wasted. Wasted.
So, but you say that as though that's a good thing.
No, I don't. I think it's terrible. I think it's shameful that all that money's wasted. So can we get the money back from Rwanda? But ironically, we've now got countries like Germany looking at sending people, migrants, to Rwanda. There'll be a big irony, won't there, if other European countries send them to Rwanda and it works.
And use the facilities that we built.
But there's a lot of ifs and ifs and ifs in that.
But the thing is, I mean, it's terrible the way the Tories screwed up on immigration, and it cost them dearly at the last election. That's why Reform did so well.
We could also talk to Mr Jenrick about his comments yesterday. We had the news yesterday that the suspect in the Southport case has now also been charged separately from the Southport case with two charges, one of having a poison and secondly of having an Al-Qaeda manual. And
downloaded, wasn't it?
Downloaded. Mr Jenrick says, was information withheld from the public. Both of you, senior journalists, very many decades working in newspapers. I think, it would be kind of good just to explain the contempt of court law and the delicate path that the police and politicians walk in these matters. Because, of course, if you go too far in talking about the details of a case like this, then suddenly the question arises, could there be a fair trial? The Southport families will be wanting justice, but that means the trial must be allowed to proceed.
The contempt of court law basically stops you jumping publicly to conclusions, discussing motives, and whether you think there's guilt or not.
If someone's been charged.
Now, it's ignored on social media, Twitter. You saw yesterday people jumping, because they won't get taken to court for contempt. We would, as journalists. Good Morning Britain, Mail,
however,
Mirror.
I would say it does seem there was a very long delay in this coming to light, this charge, because this information was found very soon after the attack.
It was found after the attack.
After the attack. So
it wasn't known about before,
but it does seem very odd that it's taken...
Presumably he was charged, police will want to have the shortest gap between the announcement of the charges and his appearance in court to try and stop the kind of speculation that we saw yesterday.
This is going to fuel more speculation, I'm afraid, because people are going to think it was covered up for 3 months.
Because there was so much...
I think we've got a little clip of what Robert Jenrick said, and that is his implication I've read from the clip. Let's have a look.
Of course, the legal process needs to be respected, but I'm seriously concerned that the facts may have been withheld from the public here. So Keir Starmer must urgently explain to the country what he knew about the Southport attack and when he learnt it.
I mean, the fact is, it's very hard for Keir Starmer to explain anything without himself getting in danger of, exactly as Mr Jenrick said, contempt of court proceedings.
And Robert Jenrick knows that.
But, well, I mean, as a minister, he knows that, but he will also know that if you are a former Director of Public Prosecutions, the one thing you would know is that you need these decisions, as Downing Street said, to be decisions made by the Crown Prosecution Service and the police. The idea that there would be political involvement in a decision about charging, I mean, you know, I would be amazed if they knew any of that in advance.
But we'd heard, I mean, I knew that this... can't say too much because contempt of court, but I think this is going to, again, I think it's going to fuel conspiracy theories because people will say, why has it taken... Did it take so long,
but Andrew,
3 months after the Southport
attack? If people choose to come up with conspiracy theories... I mean, the conspiracy theory we discussed in this programme, if you remember, with Nigel Farage, was that this was an asylum seeker, a Muslim, who came over on a small boat. That was a conspiracy theory. None of that was true.
He was born in Cardiff.
It was all made absolutely clear. He wasn't an asylum seeker. He was born in Cardiff. He wasn't, you know, a migrant. He wasn't an asylum seeker. He had come on a boat. Those are the kind of conspiracy theories which kind of get running.
People are still going to be questioning why did it take them 3 months when they found this information very soon after what happened to... Why has it taken 3 months?
Because I think what happens is they build a case and they're looking at every angle as they do it. That's what happens.
And their argument would be, of course, that they want justice for the victims' families.
Well, that's so important.
You know, and any risk of that is
we should remember, of course, 3 little girls were murdered.
Yeah, and absolutely horrific. And again, you see their faces coming out on TV screens and papers, and you shudder. You shudder. You put yourself in the parents' shoes and think how they feel.
How have the parents ever moved on?
And a lot of that has been lost when people have been fighting their own political battles to score points, and it's pretty...
Of course, we had the same issue a week or so ago with Chris Capper, his death, the court case for the police officer Martin Blake, who shot him. It was withheld from the jury and public reporting what Mr Capper had been doing in the days before, precisely to make sure that there was a fair trial. The defence knew that. The judge knew that. But that is what you do to make sure that the trial is fair.
And to be fair to the judge who withheld that information from the jury, the police officer did not know... At the time, about Capper's background or even who was in the car. What he knew was the car had been involved in an armed attack.
You're tried on the offence you're charged with. So the jury has to think, did the police officer kill him unlawfully or not? And if the jury was told, well, Capper himself had shot somebody in a nightclub a week earlier, might say, right, he's a real bad un, so, right, that's it. And I think it's better for the police officer, the jury didn't know, and they reached their verdict.
And he was
So what we're saying is it is normal for the court, the CPS, the police, to withhold information in order for there to be a fair trial. And some people say that as a conspiracy. Other people say, no, that is actually how the judicial process works.
I still think 3 months seems a very, very long time.
We've had cases of jailed far-right thugs, Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, Tommy Robinson, standing outside a court shouting guilt at people who are going in on trial. And you can collapse those cases in that way if you begin to influence the jury.
And people walk free.
Right. Very quickly, because we're nearly out of time, you caused a right old stink again yesterday, didn't you, Kevin, with your pop-in? Yes, you. You looked at Andrew.
I know, well, it's normally...
You looked at Andrew.
This is from the Poppy... This is the Poppy camps, 15 years of Poppy camps. These are the black cab drivers who take veterans to cenotaphs all around the country.
Oh, wonderful. So we're debating that a bit later on, but people have come up with solutions for you now, haven't they, our viewers? Things that you might be able to wear earlier in November.
A viewer called Elaine, something very nice, and I've had far more nice messages than nasty ones. It's sending me a badge, and it's a poppy with a Sunderland club crest.
Winning your heart!
She's brought it from the British Legion in the Metro Centre in Gateshead.
So are you going to wear it?
If it arrives, I will wear it.
When?
Well, next week. I normally wear my poppy in the week off.
You have to wear it on this programme for the first time. In fact, we may have Andrew may put it onto you.
Oh, like an anointing.
I might do this with the prick.
Hang on.
Get my message.
You come with your poppy, you come in your leathers. It would be quite a shock.
If it's coming that close, I'm going to have an anti-tetanus.
We have to move on.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.